Hello everyone and welcome back to Beatley Tones Beatles channel. Lovely to have you here. Thanks for joining me for this video. Hope you're all doing well. In today's video I'm going to be doing episode 4 of my new mini-series called the McCartney Project, and specifically I'm going to be doing part 2 of my ranking video of Paul's best songs from the decade 2010 to 2020. In episode 3 we ranked numbers 20 to 11, and if you missed that video and you want to catch up with it, there will be an end card at the end of this video that you can just click on and just go and watch it. I am doing this kind of ranking video for every decade of Paul's solo career, going back to the 70s. Also within this this whole mini series, I'll be picking my worst ever McCartney songs as well, and I'll also be doing a video about a McCartney starter pack. If you're introducing someone to Paul McCartney's work, what songs would you where would you send them? So that's to come later in the series. But today's video is about the decade 2010 to 2020. Now, I've always thought that this decade, even amongst hardcore fans, is probably the least well-known or the least often played decade of Paul's music. And if you are unfamiliar with the songs that I'm going to talk about in this video and you want to hear them, or maybe you know them and you just want to compare the songs to what I'm actually saying about them, there is going to be a Spotify playlist of the songs that feature in this video, and a link to that is down in the description. There is actually a Spotify playlist for every episode of the McCartney project so far as well. Whenever I do a ranking video, there's always someone down in the comments that says, how can you possibly have left out this song, or how could you possibly rank that song so low? It should have been much higher. So just to reiterate, this is my personal ranking of these songs from that decade, and I totally get it that your ranking will not be the same as mine verbatim, but I am interested to know how you rank the songs from this decade, numbers 10 to 1. So if you want to, please give me your rankings down in the comments. A lot of you did that in part 1 of this video, and that made really interesting reading. We got quite a wide array of songs, so I'm always interested to read how you would rank these songs, and I don't expect them to be the same as mine. Okay, so we're doing numbers 10 to 1. That's only 10 songs to talk about, but 10 songs to talk about is a lot of talking, so let's get on with it. So, number 10 on my list comes from 2020, McCartney 3. It's Find My Way. And Find My Way, I think, is probably the most accessible track on McCartney 3. Very poppy, very catchy, based around a 2-chord riff that's played on a synthesizer. And the song doesn't start off for me in the best possible way. It's got a strange lyric. I can find my way, I know my left from right, which I think is a really odd way to start a song. Comforting, although it is, knowing that Paul knows his left from right, and I'm sure it helps him strap his guitar on the right way, knowing that. It's not a great start to the song. The song then moves into the middle 8 or the chorus, where Paul uses his falsetto voice. Now, normally, I don't really like his falsetto voice, but I find that when he uses it in an upbeat song like this, I do quite like it. And the lyric of this part of the song totally makes up for the lyrical faux pas of the opening bit. You never used to be afraid of days like these, but now you're overwhelmed by your anxieties. Let me help you out. Let me be your guide. I can help you reach the love you feel inside, which is absolutely great. Really great, a great lyric. And instrumentation wise, really interesting, this song. We've got keyboards pretending to be trumpets, which sound sound great. Paul obviously plays everything on this track because it's recorded during lockdown, and he lays down a really nice drum groove on this, which he overdubs with a tambourine, and really, you know, sets the kind of mood of the song. He's also playing his Hofner bass on this as well, and there's some nice bass parts in it as well, and some twiddly guitars. When we get towards the end of the song, Paul's voice is double tracked, so we hear him singing melody and harmony, and that sounds really great. And then the sort of song comes to what you imagine to be its natural conclusion, but then it comes back in, and we get some more like an instrumental passage with more sort of twiddly guitars and more horns and stuff like that. And then the song ends in a really odd way with what I can best describe as what I imagine to be the sound of an elephant farting. It's a very odd way to end the song, but elephant fart or not, Find My Way is my number 10. So track number 9 comes from the new album, and if you're listening on vinyl, it's the final track on the album, Road. And now Road for sure is an experimental track. It's produced by Paul Epworth, who plays drums on this track, and very nice drum groove it is too, where he throws in lots of off beats in there to kind of fill out the sound. Our boy plays everything else on this track, and it's you know, it's a very atmospheric song that reminds me a lot of A Pretty Little Head from Press to Play. It's kind of got that same sort of atmosphere, and that atmosphere is almost eerie in places, and the eeriness is provided by the keyboard instrument that is sounding a little bit like a glockenspiel. It kind of you know, has a sort of riff that is a little bit eerie, and it is quite a, you know, it's quite a scary song. It's a song about you know, a car journey where they don't know where they're going. They don't know where they're going, and we, after the sort of, you know, each verse, we get a chorus, and each chorus, which is a 4-line chorus, builds and builds and builds. Each line, it builds up more, and the drums are mostly responsible for that build up. At the end of the 4 lines, we get this great piano riff. It's a piano that's got some sort of effect on it, and it kind of goes dun 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 dun. And it's, you know, it's only a few notes, but it's really effective. And the song sort of carries on in the same vein until we get to the last verse, where a lot of the instrumentation drops out, and during that last verse, have a listen to Fast Fingers McCartney, his bass playing on that part. It's absolutely phenomenal, just brilliant bass playing on that last bit. And as we get into the final section of the song, the kind of instrumentation, there's Paul is doing you know, some backing vocals, but they kind of feel as if they're way in the distance. Lots of oohs and ahs. A great song, as I say, really atmospheric. Road from the new album is my number 9. Number 8 comes from McCartney 3, and it's the track Deep Deep Feeling. 8.5 minutes worth of experimentation. I'm going to try and talk about it in under 2 minutes. But this is a fantastic song. For me, it's the best song on McCartney 3. Absolutely love it. I say it is experimental. The lyrics are repetitive, but it's not really about the lyrics. It's about what is going on behind them, because that is what is changing all the time, and that's what keeps the song interesting. There are really big drums on this, and he gets an absolutely fantastic sound on the drums, and there's a really wide sound stage as well, and this track is kind of begging to be listened to at high volume, I think. But you know, instrument wise and vocal wise, it just changes all the time. He really does throw everything, including the kitchen sink. The vocals, we get like a standalone vocal, we get a harmonized vocal, we get like a synth vocal, we get a falsetto vocal, and you know, it's kind of changing all the time. We get sort of searingly aching lead guitar coming in and going out and coming in and going out until we get to about 4 minutes where we have sort of the main sort of guitar solo in the song, and it kind of sounds a little bit Pink Floydish. Maybe not quite as flamboyant as that, but that sort of thing is both economical and extravagant with the sound on that. Really like the lead guitar on this, and there's some really delicate piano throughout this as well. As I say, the lyrics are repetitive, but when he sings, I feel my heart is going to burst, you actually believe it. He sings it like he's going to believe it, and about 6 minutes, the whole time signature of the song changes, which adds extra interest, and there's percussion thrown in there as well. And when you get to about 7.5 minutes, where you think the song has ended, it then comes back in as a kind of an acoustic version of the song. And I don't know if this is the case, but it sounds as if that part of the song might be the original demo from the song. I say that mainly because of the very final chord sounds like how you would end a demo. It's not a demo on its own because it's got overdubs on it, keyboards and piano and stuff like that. But Deep Feeling, great song. I think it's not going to be to everyone's taste, but I don't think that 8.5 minutes, I don't think it overstays its welcome, because it changes so much throughout the song. But that is my number 8, Deep Feeling from McCartney 3. Number 7 comes from the new album, and it's the opening track, Save Us. Now, there's nothing big and there's nothing clever about Save Us. It's just a straightforward, no-nonsense sort of power pop rock song, but it's one that as soon as you put on the new album, it kind of grabs you straight away. If you play it loud, it comes at you at the speakers and kind of never lets you go. And I loved it when I first heard it. I still love it now. Paul Epworth is the producer of this song, and he plays drums on the song as well. And he also gets a co-write credit for this song as well, because when Paul turned up at his studio, he had 20 songs written to record, but Paul Epworth wanted them to work on something completely new, something fresh, something that they could make up there and then on the spot, and that's what they did. And I say Paul Epworth plays drums on this. Paul McCartney plays bass and guitar and sings it, and that's it. There's no other instrumentation in this song at all. It's kind of based around a really catchy riff and a really catchy chorus, and there's not much more that I can say about Save Us. It's just a great song. It's my number 7. Number 6 comes from Egypt Station, and it's the track I Don't Know. Now, I Don't Know, I think, is probably Paul's best ballad from this entire decade, or certainly the best ballad with full instrumentation. In other words, not just him and an acoustic guitar. This is a fully blown ballad, and I would be prepared to give this song position number 6 in this list, just for the 40-second piano intro to this song. An absolutely gorgeous piece of piano playing that seems slightly disconnected to the main song, but gorgeous nonetheless. And it comes to a stop, and then the main song starts, and the chords at the beginning of the song sound a little bit similar to the opening chords of Warm and Beautiful from Speed of Sound, but they're not. And this song, it finds Paul in a mood of self-doubt. The lyrics are all about self-doubt, and the sad chords that accompany it fit absolutely perfectly. He knows how to write a ballad, our Paul. And all the instruments, Paul plays pretty much everything: acoustic guitar, bass, drums, percussion, piano and vocals. Producer Greg Kirsten does all the string arrangements, plays a bit of electric guitar as well. As I say, I think it's probably the best ballad that he's written during this decade. So my number 6 is I Don't Know from Egypt Station. So we're into the top 5, and number 5 comes from the new album, and it's a hidden track on the CD version of New, called Scared. It didn't even appear on the vinyl version at all, but it does appear on both this deluxe version of New and the earlier version of New that came out. It appears at the end of the final track, Get Me Out of Here, but it's not listed on the CD cover. So it's a hidden track. Now the song hails from I think the period where Paul sort of first got together with Nancy, and this is a song about vulnerability and you know how it is, fellas, not being able to say I love you, either for fear of rejection or just because you're a bloke. And this song, a very sparse arrangement, just Paul and the piano, and really nice song. Now it's really interesting that both John Lennon and Paul McCartney wrote songs called Scared, about the same sort of subject, the vulnerability. John's appeared on his Walls and Bridges album. But I'm going to say this, and I'm not even sure if it even makes sense, but if Paul McCartney's version of Scared had been written by John Lennon, it would have fitted absolutely perfectly on his John Lennon Plastic Ono Band album, both because of the sparse arrangement and the subject matter. Absolutely a perfect fit for John Lennon Plastic Ono Band album, but he didn't. This one is written by Paul McCartney. As I say, it's a hidden track, and I kind of understand why it didn't make the album proper, even though in my opinion it's better than some of the tracks that did make the proper album, because of the sort of the sparse arrangement. It doesn't really fit the vibe of the album, but it is a really good track. Now the track is produced by Giles Martin, and they tried it lots of different ways, with expanded instrumentation, but decided in the end that the best version of the song was just Paul and his piano. Now, if you don't know the song Scared and you want to listen to it on the playlist, you need to go to the song Road on the playlist and go to timestamp 4 minutes 51, and when you get there, the song Scared will play. So that is my number 5 from the album New, the hidden track Scared. Okay, so we're getting to the business end now. Number 4 also comes from the New album, and also a CD only version of the New album. It's another bonus track called Turned Out. What a song. This song is catchy as hell, an out and out rocker, and based around a really great thrashy guitar riff, and I'm pretty sure that this song could have been a hit single, maybe not in 2013, but in days gone by. I think this would have been a single, maybe a standalone single release. I think it's probably left as a bonus track because there are other sort of out and out rockers on the album, like Save Us, like I Can Bet, like Everybody Out There, but this is a fantastic song. As I say, really catchy. It features Paul's touring band on their usual instruments, but Paul plays guitar, bass, drums, keyboard, synthesizer, and tubular bells. There's a breakdown bit in the middle, of which the entry and the exit to that little breakdown bit is tubular bells, which Paul is hitting himself. And but my favourite part of the song is where it comes back in after that, where it comes back into the sort of the main rock part of the song, where Paul is singing the chorus, and underneath that he's overdubbed ad-libs, where it just sounds really great, as if he's having a really good time. Number 4 on my list from the New album is the track Turned Out. So, number 3 on my list also comes from the new album, and it's the track On My Way to Work. On My Way to Work is the first of a trio of songs on the album New that are all sequenced consecutively, that all look back at Paul's time in Liverpool as a young man, but look back at his youth. And the inspiration for On My Way to Work came when Paul was looking through an art catalogue and noticed that Damien Hirst, the artist Damien Hirst, had done a painting called On My Way to Work, and he thought that is a great title for a song, a great starting point for a song, because it's something that would resonate with everyone, because everyone has a journey to work. And, you know, it's a very descriptive song, and he talks about, you know, travelling on a green double-decker bus that they have in Liverpool, and sitting on the top deck, and people smoking, because if you wanted to smoke on a bus, you had to be on the top deck, because you weren't allowed to smoke on the bottom deck. And he talks about, you know, being on that top deck and being able to see, you know, the city as he's going through, you know, on his journey. But he kind of, you know, moves away from the sort of the narrative of the actual, you know, the real journey and the things that he experienced on that journey, and talks also about his anxieties for the future, about meeting the one, with all the people in the world. How is he ever gonna meet the person who is the one? He says, you know, but all the time I thought of you, how far away the future seemed. How could I have so many dreams and one of them not come true? Which is great, you know, great stuff. Really good lyrics in this song. But whenever I think of Paul, you know, on a bus in Liverpool, I always recall that great story, when I don't know whether it's true, but I really hope it is, where he tells this story about when him and John, you know, when they, you know, first started, you know, in the with the Quarrymen, they heard about this bloke on the other side of Liverpool who knew the chord B7, and they got on a bus with their guitars sort of strapped on their backs, and went over to the other side of Liverpool to find this bloke so he could teach them how to play B7. And, you know, boy, did they use that chord B7 in those early Beatles songs that they wrote. But, you know, the song kind of, you know, it's kind of a mid-pace, you know, acoustic, you know, song, but it kind of picks up a bit of momentum when you get to the second verse, where Paul is harmonising with himself, and it sounds really great, and I really love this song. So On My Way to Work is my number 3. So how time flies, we've already arrived at number 2 on the list, and number 2 comes from, yes, you've guessed it, the new album, another song from the new album. And I just when I was speaking about the song On My Way to Work, I talked about that trio of songs that hark back to Paul's youth in Liverpool that appear on the new album, On My Way to Work being one of them. Queenie Eye, a song that hasn't made my top 20, being another. But the third of that trio of songs, Early Days, is my number 2. What a brilliant song this is, and it's a song that kind of harks back to That Was Me from Memory Almost Full, but this is a very different type of song. You know, That Was Me was very upbeat and a sort of, you know, rockabilly song. This is much more introspective and, you know, an acoustic song mostly. And, you know, members of Paul's touring band are on this: Rusty Anderson and Brian Ray on guitar, Abe Laboriel Jr. on backing vocals. Drums are provided on this particular track by the producer Ethan Johns. And this song there's kind of two aspects to this song which make it really interesting. Firstly, you know, Paul is talking about his youth and with John, and, you know, walking around Liverpool with their guitars sort of strapped on their back and going into record shops and kind of, you know, styling themselves on, you know, the posters that they saw on the wall in the record shops that they, you know, hung out in, the posters of, you know, people that they were influenced by, people like Elvis and, you know, Little Richard, and, you know, he talks about putting Vaseline in their hair and that sort of thing. And there's a lot of that in the song, but there's also another aspect to this song where Paul is kind of taking a swipe at commentators about his career, authors, maybe even YouTubers. I don't know, but people that that document his story. And he's got this verse in the song. Now everybody has their own opinion. Who did this and who did that? But as for me, I don't see how you can remember because you weren't where it was at. In other words, saying, well, how do you know what happened? You weren't there. I was there. You weren't. And you're telling me about my, my life sort of thing. And there is this story that George Harrison once spoke to Mark Lewison and said, well, what qualifies you to write about me and the Beatles? You weren't there. And it's not particularly a train of thought that I subscribe to. I wasn't in World War II, but I know what happened. So there's that sort of thing. But Paul is worried about how commentators change the narrative and change the perspective. And he's concerned about his legacy. When the truth is, that Paul is also one of these people that kind of can change the narrative to suit his own agenda from time to time as well. But it's an interesting aspect to this song. And as I say, it is mainly acoustic, and it does kind of build as the song goes on. And Paul uses his old man voice in this song, which is absolutely perfect for someone who is an older person looking back on their life, and that is the perfect thing. And when they were recording this, Paul wasn't happy with the vocal. He said it was a bit rough and a bit croaky, and within the new album there is some sweetening of the vocals on that album, and he wanted to do it on this particular song, and Ethan John said no, let's keep it exactly where it is because it's absolutely perfect for this song, and I agree with that. So a great song, Early Days. That is my number 2. So we've arrived at my number 1 song for the decade 2010 to 2020. It comes from the album Egypt Station, and it's the track Despite Repeated Warnings. What a song, an absolute masterpiece of a song. It clocks in at just shy of 7 minutes, and McCartney doesn't waste a single second of this song. Now, it is my favourite song from this decade, but I would go as far as saying that this song is there or thereabouts as the best song that he's done in the last 25 years. This is a political song, and Paul hasn't got a great record with political songs. He's tried a few before. They haven't worked out too well. Examples being, Give Ireland Back to the Irish, Big Boys Bickering, maybe, Looking for Changes, Wildlife, probably a better political song. But this song is basically about climate change deniers. Although here in the UK, you can read these lyrics and they could just as easily apply to Brexit. Now, Paul has said that this song isn't about Brexit, and it was written before Brexit, but I'm not sure that I'm going with that, because Paul quite openly admits that the captain of the ship that is referred to in this song is Donald Trump, and Brexit happened before, or the vote for Brexit happened before Trump was elected president. So I'm not sure if that's true. I think that he didn't really want to detract from the fact that he wanted to make a point about climate change deniers. But this song has got so many twists and turns. It's brilliant musically, it's brilliant lyrically, and you could almost be convinced that this is sort of 5 or 6, snippets of songs that have been welded together, maybe like an Abbey Road medley. But producer Greg Kirsten, he took the band into a rehearsal room and they worked out an arrangement of how this song was going to go from start to finish. So they were able to sort of play it through from start to finish. But obviously there's overdubs and stuff like that in the song. But because there are so many twists and turns in this song, it makes it a really difficult song to describe, and I'll probably make a hash of it. So, if you haven't heard this song before, I really recommend you listen to this song. And if you are hearing it for the first time, I'd also recommend that you listen to it reading the lyrics, because they're so important to the story of this song. But it kind of starts off as a piano-led ballad. Paul's got loads of echo on his voice. It sounds really good, and it's a song of desperation. What can we do? What can we do? What can we do to stop this foolish plan going through? And it goes on to a bit where he sings, those who shout the loudest will not always be the smartest, but they have their proudest moments just before they fall. And in between each of those lines, the band, are singing, what can we do? And it's a really nice part. So the ballad part goes on for about 2.5 minutes, and then it takes a turn. The guitars kick in, it becomes more rocky, more upbeat, and it goes on to, in that part it becomes a much more positive song. It gets to the bit where he sings, yes we can do it, yes we can do it, yes we can do it, we can do it now. And then a horn section kicks in, and it's kind of lifted again, and it twists and turns all the way through. I can't even describe all the different changes. You do need to listen to it, but he throws everything, including the kitchen sink, at this. There's a horn section, there's strings on this, full orchestra on this as well. The bit that where he's singing, yes we can do it, yes we can do it, it just becomes much more positive. And there's a really clever bit towards the end of the song where there's a verse, and it's like, it's a 16-line verse, it's a kind of call and response, but the response isn't responding to the call, if you know what I mean. So in other words, sort of, lines 1, 3, 5 and 7 tell one story, and lines 2, 4, 6 and 8 tell a different story. So it's it's a really, really interesting song, and absolutely recommend that you listen to it if you don't know it. It is my favourite song of this particular decade, despite repeated warnings. An absolute masterpiece of a song. So along with part 1, that concludes my top 20 songs from the decade 2010 to 2020. I kind of started off with about 60 songs that I listened to. I whittled them down to 30 and then down to 10. As I went through them and played them a few times, I gave each song a mark out of 10, and everything that was in the top 20 got either 10, 9, 8.5 or 8, and some songs that got 8 I had to leave off because I wanted to keep it as a 20. But what about your favourite songs from this decade? Love to hear from you. Love to know what your top 10 are. Please tell me down in the comments down below. I read all your comments and I will respond to all your comments. Remember, there's no right or wrong answers when you're talking about ranking videos. It's all subjective and all down to personal taste. So I'd love to know what you think about this decade and what your top 10 favourite songs are. Little bit of housekeeping. Please give this video a like. It only takes about a second of your life to give it a like, and it really helps the channel and helps this video get out there. So you'd be doing me a big favour if you do that. If you are seeing this channel for the first time, please consider supporting the channel by subscribing. Love to have you along for the ride. And if you've got this far in the video, you will notice that you haven't seen any ads mid-roll. That was because I don't have ads mid-roll in any of my videos, which means you can watch the whole thing from start to finish without interruptions. Okay, well, that is it from me. The next video, I'm pretty confident that I'm going to show you something that you haven't seen before, so please stay tuned for that. The next episode of the McCartney project will start looking at the best songs from the decade of the noughties, 2000 to 2009, so that, you know, stay tuned for that as well. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye bye.